We are ready, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you everybody for tuning in, for joining. Hello, everybody, to this very special hour. It's my great delight to welcome you all from wherever you're joining us. I'd say hello to New York, to London, to Berlin, of course, but also to Beirut. Hello, dear world. Thanks for joining us and for tuning in today, as it is a very special photo show that we're getting to know today. It's called Inside Shatila, where young professionals will show us their world. And I can tell you, it is a different world that you normally see and scroll through your timelines. So stay tuned and take the best out of it. We have guests, of course, from Beirut today, and I quickly like to introduce you to them. I'd start with Maike Ziervogel, who is with us today. She is from the Alsama project, an educational charity working in refugee camps in Lebanon, offering secondary education for Syrian refugees that have been out of schools all their lives, or most of their lives before. Dear Maike, thanks for joining us today, and greetings to Beirut.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be joining you today.
Great. We'll get to know your work better in a second. Sarah is also with us. Sarah Hitate, she is from Our Voice, and she's also a media trainer for smartphone journalism. Also, a big welcome to you and great for joining us. Thanks for joining us today. Dear Sarah.
Hello, Kate. Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you. Also with us today from the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, he's the director of the office in Beirut. Christoph Kleemann is with us. Also, a warm welcome to you, dear Christoph, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Katie. I'm looking forward to this. Very excited.
And of course, we do have our photojournalists that we look into to see what they were doing. Aisha Omi, an Our Voice photojournalist, and Mahmoud Sleiman, also an Our Voice photojournalist, is with us. To the both of you, a warm welcome goes also to you, also based, of course, in Beirut. We can't wait to see more of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And last but not least, I'd like to introduce you to Erol Gurian, a dear friend of mine and also the Our Voice founder and photojournalist. Dear Erol, thank you so much for organizing everything. It's so nice to see you, hopefully soon again in person, but now digitally.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you for hosting this event. It makes it so much more beautiful and professional to have someone like you on board. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to what we have to discover today.
I didn't hesitate a second when you asked me. It's my great pleasure to be part of the Our Voice family. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to post your questions in the YouTube channel and the YouTube live stream. We will collect the questions and then we will dive into all the questions later on. But Maike, I'd like to start with you as we were talking and diving in now into a little bit of the context. The photo exhibition is called Inside Shatila. For some of us, it's just a name, you know, but for a lot of people, of course, it's home. Maybe you can give us a little bit of context. What does Shatila mean? Where is it based? Who are the people that are living in Shatila? And of course, your organization is called or translated into sky, which also can be translated into horizon. So in this context of the Shatila Camp, but also in the context of your project work, how do you help to, to gain a broader horizon in this context?
Okay, so perhaps I should just quickly explain. So Shatila is one, I think, of 9 Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon. It was set up in 1947 for originally 3,000 Palestinian refugees. It now houses, following the Syrian war, their estimates between 20 to 40,000 people. And it's in the middle of Beirut. It's 1 square kilometer. You have now Palestinians living here in 3rd generation as refugees, in addition to, of course, thousands and thousands of Syrians. And we operate within these refugee camps. So we have an education institute here in Shatila and also in the neighboring camp, Borj Berajne, where we give education to Syrian teenagers from 12 years to 24 or 25-year-olds. We bring them up to brevet level, which is the sort of O-level equivalent in the Lebanese system. And at the same time, we also empower them in order to eventually run the institutes and the schools themselves. And Mahmoud and Aisha will talk about that a bit more in a moment.
Just a quick question, a secondary question. When you talk about the biggest challenges right now inside in Shatila, what would you say? What is currently a big obstacle?
Electricity and Wi-Fi to start with. I mean, you know, so as you know, the situation, of course, in Lebanon is disastrous. You know, it's not just COVID, but it's also hyperinflation and economic meltdown following the explosion last year of the harbor in Beirut. The situation in the camps, like everywhere else in Lebanon, has of course got much worse. But having said that, most inhabitants, of course, or all inhabitants of the camp are already the bottom of the pyramid. So in some ways, the situation here has, you know, when you're at the bottom, it's very difficult to go even further down. So in comparison to a lot of Lebanese, especially middle-class Lebanese or lower middle-class Lebanese, who have really lost everything, the refugees living in the camps here who have had nothing have also therefore lost nothing. But of course, life has become even harder. I mean, we have hyperinflation here, which of course means that people are really struggling to feed themselves.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for explaining a little bit more the context. Sarah, I'd like to dive in with you again, of course, also in the context. Mike touched already a few of the biggest problems right now: electricity, Wi-Fi, of course, the COVID situation, then the explosion last year, and the hyperinflation right now, currently, of course, you know, being the problem or the point of suffering for so many people. How do you actually keep projects going in such a very volatile environment? And of course, how do people and projects in that context survive? You are project manager for the Deutsche Welle Academy, but of course also a specialist in project work in the media development. What do you see? What helps, but also what didn't help in the past?
Actually, let's start with what helps. Let's say like we have training for 5-6 days. For me, having training for this short period of time will give that chance for people to be in different situations with different trainers, with different contexts. So we were more focused on the content, on new skills, on giving them new horizon and how to tell stories, how to produce stories. And this will give them more motivation. Like maybe it's not very big motivation, but at least something that they can move on with and find something they are really interested in, and maybe they can discover something and develop their own skills. So this is one point. The second point is to be more flexible as a trainer during this tough day. So I'm not tough anymore. So it's fine if they can join the Zoom meeting for one day because there is no internet, or maybe they are not in good mood. Like let's say they are traumatized, or maybe today they are really sad. So it's fine. I'm more flexible with them. And this will build more connection between a trainer and also participants. So this is, I think this is my main thing that I'm discovering, or I'm figuring out during these tough days in Lebanon.
Thank you, Sarah. And just a backup question as well. Do you do more now digitally in your workshops, or do you rather prefer, of course, being in person? But of course, it might be difficult because of the COVID situation. So how do you handle that situation, you know, being still in this pandemic time, but also, of course, craving for personal social connection?
Actually, now it's, let's say it's half-half. I have also make digital online training and also personal and physical training, but of course, nothing will beat the in-person training as our voice training. So it was in person. Erol came to Lebanon and we delivered this training in the ground, and it was really interesting because the last year, previous years was hybrid training, and it's totally different than this year with them. So maybe Erol also can share more about this inside situation during our training. But of course, I prefer physical, one-to-one, or being in front of my students and having this interaction and connection, and give them also more information, and also they will give me more input based on their own experience and circumstances.
Thank you, Sarah. Erol, let's go behind the scenes of our voice. Sarah was touching upon that point, so I'd like to dive in with you into that. Erol, when we talk about our voice, how did it start? I mean, you are based in Munich and this project runs in Beirut. What is the connection? What is your connection? And, you know, give us a little bit of the glimpse how it all started with the little seed of our voice.
It's the kind of story you like, Katie, because it's personal. Should I continue?
I love personal stories, always coming from the heart.
This is the story. I started the first time I traveled to Lebanon in my whole life. This was in 2014. I was working on a large project on the Armenian diaspora. I'm half Armenian, and I worked on a project on Armenians living in Beirut. There's quite a sizable Armenian community. And and at that point, to be very honest with you, I didn't have, I didn't see the situation of the refugees in the country. But of course, being there in 2014, and you remember that was the start of the big flow of people fleeing their country in Syria, you couldn't, you couldn't help but realize there was something going on. And so I was directed to the Bekaa Valley. There was an NGO that does some excellent work in the Bekaa Valley. The Bekaa Valley is in the middle of Lebanon, and it's basically the corn chamber of the country where a lot of produce is produced, and a lot of Syrian migrants are based there, and an organization called Beyond Association invited myself and a fellow colleague of mine to come and to witness what they're doing. And this was my first, really my first experience making contact and finding out about the situation of the Syrian refugees. And when one day we discovered in a school, a tent school, that there was the press club, which was a little group of people who, young people, teenagers, who with a Syrian teacher, his name is Meziad. We're very close friends. He's watching, I hope, right now from Bekaa. It became clear that there's something that I could contribute. I'm not an NGO. I don't have tons of money or food to give, but what I can give is a little bit of media literacy, or visual literacy, as we call it. And we started this project, and so it grew from that point. Until today, until we found the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, who supported us and are still supporting us, until we found Alsama, who are playing a vital role in what you will see tonight. And so it developed from that point. And I mean, a place like Lebanon, once you go there, you have to come back. It's addictive.
You're hooked. I see that. Oh. Thank you so much, Erol. So I understand that, of course, you can bring in your experience from media literacy, but you also bring in your time and your passion for visual storytelling and for telling stories via the smartphone. So maybe you can give us a glimpse. What are these workshops all about? Is it just, learning how to produce stories and how to produce reports? Or is it more about telling stories in a visual, in a new, in an honest, in a raw way that comes from their environment, from their narrative, rather than having ideas and explaining ideas that are scribbled somewhere else, but rather exploring own ideas in their own context? Maybe you can give us a glimpse how these workshops, where the photo stories came out in the end, looked like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one, Katie. And maybe I can ask our producer Dominic to show the first image that we prepared, and you will get a glimpse of the workshop that Sarah and myself did at Alsama this summer in July. And let's see if we can see a photo now. Dominic, maybe we can see the first image that we have in the presentation. Should be coming up.
I think it's in the live stream already, but it's not visible to us because we're in the might be the case.
So this is, you can see Sarah now. We're in a classroom of Alsama project in the middle of Shatila in Beirut. We were there in July. It was very, very hot. Let me tell you, it was very hot, and with there's no reliable electric power there, so we were sweating, but we kept going strong. And what you can see here is we're preparing the workshop. This was the day 1 or day 2. We're giving our students a little bit of theoretical background about visual storytelling. We're telling them what it takes to take pictures that tell a story. What it's like to hold the camera not vertically but horizontally, because you can tell more of a story, and all those things we discuss by giving them a little bit of theoretical background. Dominic, can I have the next photo, please? And so what you see as the next image is, again, it's at Alsama, at the center, at the education center, which is a beautiful small place, but it, you know, it was they provided us with everything we needed, a space to teach the young people, and we had a monitor, and we had our laptops there. And here we can see one of our participants as we develop ideas for stories. So you were asking, what are the young people supposed to shoot with their cameras? And we're encouraging them to discover their neighborhood, to discover their surroundings with the cameras, with the smartphones. And so we were talking about the ideas, you know, about the idea of maybe I can go visit this car mechanic. Maybe I can go visit a person who's selling food around the corner. Maybe I know this person who is playing cricket, and so on and so forth. And we developed those ideas. Dominic, can we see the next image, please? So that's the theoretical side of the story. And then, of course, after that, we went out, or the youth, they went out into Shatila to discover their neighborhood. For most of them, it was the first time that they had the smartphone with them to discover a neighborhood. Maybe we can see the next one, please. Yeah, this is still in the classroom, explaining some concepts of perspective, explaining the visual narrative, how to tell a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and so on. But that's the theoretical part. Where it gets really interesting is when they're going out, and I think we can see that in a second. Still practicing. We're in the classroom practicing. There are 3 of them. And the next image, please. And so step by step, Katie, step by step, we lead them on to be proficient with the camera as a storytelling tool, and then to go out. And then basically, I think in the next picture, if I remember correctly, we can see Sarah with some of our students. Oh, no, this one is, this is also very interesting. It was so hot, I'm not kidding you, that Sarah had the idea, and it worked. I've never seen this before, to cool the smartphone with a cold bottle of water. I'm not kidding you. This is real. So they're going out into the streets now. They're leaving Alsama, going out and exploring the surroundings. And I think in the next image, Dominic, maybe I can see that.
Yeah, we see it now, Erol. I think this is beautiful to watch, and also, you know, combined with life hacks, how to cool down a hot cell phone. Thank you so much for that moment, Erol. I guess you need a lot of smartphones. Is that correct for your project? Is there anything or a possibility how to help? Maybe because with a used phone, just an idea, can we send you old phones that you can also use for your project, or is this not a good idea?
You know what? This is one of the things we learned, Sarah. I think you can talk to that also. That we discovered, and I'm in no way, I'm not associated with Apple, but what we found was that the Apple iPhone, sorry to mention the name, from generation 8 is it's a nice tool because of two reasons. The iPhone 8 and up, it has a very good camera. Not only that, but it has AirDrop. It's a functionality where you can share pictures without Wi-Fi. So when we're in the field without power, electrical power, and without Wi-Fi, just with a laptop on batteries and a smartphone, it's still possible to share images. So yes, this is one thing that we're looking for. The next workshop to get 10 iPhones 8 or up, they can be used.
Or pretty new. Maybe there is somebody watching us today who has a few leftovers, a few left phones, so please send them to Erol. Erol, thank you so much for that moment, because I do follow up your questions here in our live stream. Thank you so much for all your comments. I quickly look through it. Send me your questions and of course your comments, and I see a lot of emojis. Thank you so much for watching us from all over the world. It is a big pleasure, and I think I see a big smile. It just doesn't make us happy, it also makes Aisha and Mahmoud very happy to have this big audience, and of course to dive into the personal stories. Guys, when you were watching the photos, when you were seeing the photos from, cooling down the cell phone, going back into the memory line, being in the classroom, but of course more important, being outside of the classroom, going outside, meeting people, taking pictures, having these conversations, what comes to your mind? What made you happy in these times?
هي عم تسأل يعني بالنسبة لورشة العمل شو يعني خليتكم انتم مبسوطين بشوفكم؟ يلا.
Okay. What make us happy because we go and see the people and see the refugee camp, and we see the life, the people what his life, and we made a beautiful story. My story, and the best player cricket, Aman Ibrahim Al-Abed. She's a student in Alsama Center, and she's the best player cricket, and she assistant coach. Amani, she lived a hard life because her family want her married, and she didn't live like another girl. She didn't study, and she didn't find her dream, because Amani, she didn't have a dream, she didn't have goal. Right now, Amani, she have a dream, she have a goal, and Amani, phenomenal girl.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful story with us. Aisha, when you think back, of course, to our voice, which voice do you want to show to the world? What are your stories about? What do you want to show to the world from your home, from Shatila?
Okay, can you translate?
Okay, أنا أحكي عن القصة اللي أنت حكيت لها بصور.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Aisha. Okay, I choose the story because the story very reality and stay in communicate. Okay, the children has a name Adnan. He has 7 years old. He collect plastic from rubbish. Okay, he collect plastic from rubbish, and he work every day. He work 11 hours every day. He earns 13 Lebanese lira.
30,000.
Yes. Okay. 30,000 Lebanese lira per day. Okay.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Aisha. And I saw your story and I was so touched how you told this story about this little boy collecting garbage. And of
I
course,
just want to add, so what
Mikey, yes,
30,000 lira is, can I just add
yes,
that?
Mikey, what is 30,000 lira?
Is $1.50. And he earns that, so he's the only one who works in his family. So he earns $1.50 for 11 hours work every day.
We let that sink in. Thank you, Mikey. To Aisha and Mahmoud, I have one final question to both of you. When you look back, of course, telling stories is one thing, but what did you keep from your time? What did you learn that you can use until now from your time with your fellow colleagues and students, but also with your time, you know, exploring their own neighborhood? What was the most important thing that you learned when you look back, and also, of course, when you reflect?
يعني الفكرة هون شو تعلمته من ورشة العمل من مع الشغل مع الإيرول بالذات.
Okay. What we learn many things. The first thing we learn how to get a good picture, how to control with your setting camera, and how to find a way to get the picture, and how we want get the story from the picture. Okay, I start.
Okay.
And Aisha, what did you learn from the heart? You know, taking a picture is one thing, and learning how to keep or how to take a photo and how to keep your cell phone properly fixed. But what did you learn from a personal perspective?
Okay, I learned how take a portrait, and how take iceberg, yes, iceberg, and how say story in photo.
You can also answer in Arabic, and Mikey can translate if it's easier for you, Aisha, if you want to re-elaborate your answer.
تعلمتي شخصيا يعني مش بس بالنسبة للتصوير. So the work as a teamwork. Yes, that's what she learned, teamwork, and that's what she took away from it.
Wow, Aisha, thank you so much. And Mahmoud, do you want to add on something in Arabic, because maybe it's easier to express? What did you learn besides, you know, taking photos, of course, and talking to people?
The first thing I learned, work as a team, and many things.
Maybe in Arabic, it's easier, if it's easier for you, you know.
No problem.
No? Okay, thank you guys so much. We come back to you after, of course, the exhibition. I'd like to come in with Christoph here. Christoph Klemann from the Friedrich Naumann Foundation, the Foundation for Freedom. So when we talk about freedom of communication, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, dear Christoph, how are these values connected to the foundation of the freedom of the Naumann Foundation? And of course, how, you know, do you keep track that these values are somehow integrated in projects? How do they help?
Yeah, thanks very much, Katie. Yeah, I mean, we are, in our name, we have the name Freedom, Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom. So that's in our DNA, the principles of freedom. And of course, the freedom of expression is one of them. As Voltaire once said, you know, I might disagree with your views, but I will kind of defend those views to my life for you to express them. And this is one of the principles that the foundation is based on, that our work is based on, and we do regularly projects related to the freedom of expression. This is projects like the one we see today. These are also projects on topics like disinformation, which is a big problem around the world, not just in Lebanon, of course. It's projects also that we do with Sarah on training journalists how to read data, how to, you know, see what might be disinformation, what is real data. So these are the, you know, freedom of expression is a fundamental core of our work. But just I want to say one thing, and I think this project is not so much related. I mean, it is to the freedom of expression, but it's also related to empowerment. I mean, what Michael said earlier, for us as a foundation, empowerment of people is so important, because we believe that freedom is not just, you know, the right of being free from coercion or oppression, but it's also your freedom to be, and you know, to live a self-determined life, and that kind of freedom that everyone deserves, to have a life in which they can thrive, and they and are self-determined. I think this is one of the fundamental principles of our foundation and the work that we do worldwide.
Thank you so much, Christoph. And it's 6 p.m. here in Berlin on the dot, 7 p.m. here in Beirut. And now it's time for the official opening of Our Voice, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your comments flowing. I see a lot of emojis and a lot of smiles and hearts, and of course, a lot of questions. And we're going to dive into these questions in 10 minutes. I give you now 10 minutes time, and our technical department sends you now the link for the virtual exhibition. So you can actually see now this beautiful work from the photojournalists from Our Voice. Follow the link and please stay online. It's going to be a next tab that you can open, and then you can, you know, mingle around, stroll around in the exhibition, and I'll see you then in 10 minutes. Please stay online in the live stream and keep your questions going. We're going to collect them in a second, and when you're back in 10 minutes, we're going to ask, of course, the last questions, and then we round it up. Have fun, enjoy it. It's sweet, it's sour, it's bold, it's raw, it's beautiful and very inspiring. Have fun, and I'll see you 6 or 7. Nevertheless, 10 past to the full hour now. Wherever you are in the world, you're more than welcome. See you soon. because we'd like to elaborate a little bit what we've seen. And guys, thank you so much. I'm following along. This is also the beauty about digital events, having several devices, and of course, following along the live stream with all your comments and questions. And there are a lot of other colleagues and students watching us today. So thank you so much for this big and very engaging audience today. Wow, I'm very impressed. Guys, Aisha and Mahmoud, I have a few questions from the audience going, of course, out to you. Hiba Isawi is asking, for example, that she is looking forward to see more pictures, of course. She really liked the pictures, and she asked if you're planning to conduct a project, you know, in different contexts. And of course, to Erol, the question if you are planning to conduct the project in different camps. So maybe we start with Aisha and Mahmoud with the question if you are planning and participating in more workshops, and of course, also maybe using this newly elaborated skill to use it more professionally. Do you have any plans with what you've learned? Aisha, can we start with you, or Mahmoud? Who wants to start? Also, you feel free to answer in Arabic, and Mike is translating. Thank you so much, Mike.
مثلا تطور بتصوير، تشتغلي بالتصوير بطريقة مختلفة أو تشارك بمشاريع أخرى من هذا النوع؟
إذا أنا بدي مثلا شارك طور حالي بالتصوير. Okay. Yes, I want. Yes, I want because I don't have many results. Okay, I don't have. Okay. إنه أنا ما عندي كتير خبرة.
I don't have lots of experience.
Okay. I want learn for photo because I want to focus all the children, labor children, and I want to help all the children.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aisha. Yes, thank you so much. We did understand you quite well. Mahmoud, what's about you? You know, do you plan now with your new skill to go on professionally, or what's your dream? What's the dream?
I have many things. I want to learn how to film cinematic shot and how to get a raw picture and how to film raw and how to edit videos like a professional way. And I want to learn how to get the picture like black and white and how to portrait. And I want to learn many things about landscape, how to get a perfect landscape in the way in the camp or any site or any place in the world.
Thanks for sharing your dream with us. Sharing dreams makes us all vulnerable, but thank you so much for sharing your dreams with us.
Thank you very
much.
Dear
Erol, a question, of course, that I already mentioned from the chat. Are there any plans to broaden a little bit the workshops theme and, you know, the program, and of course going maybe into different camps? That's a question as well. What's on your agenda? What's on your program? What is your plan?
As of now, Katie, we're planning, Sarah and myself, depending on how the COVID situation unfolds, you know, we're planning to come back and to give some more workshops in May of this coming year. But also, and this is a bit of unofficial news, Sarah, that even you don't know, I'm talking to some European organizations, and there might be the possibility to go to some of the places where refugees are on the Greek islands and in Greece right now to do some workshops there. So this is definitely in our focus. And then also the long-term idea of this project is to empower the youth that participate in our workshops to keep sharing and developing stories and to keep sharing them on our Instagram channel that we just started. so that we have a constant flow of images and a constant flow of photos. And even, this is my fantasy, and I'm, you know, I can share it with you. I don't know if it's realistic, but one day I'm dreaming of a project where maybe children with not a refugee background, but normal youth here in Europe, in Germany, can share with the youth that are in that precarious situation, to share their photos, to have some kind of, we call it pen pal, let's call it a photo pal, because photography is such a universal language that maybe even can be shared beyond language barriers, and to have something that's going back and forth. But that's just a crazy idea at this point.
But it brings the pen pal system, writing letters, to a whole new system, right? And the connectivity and the connection within the world. Dear Sarah, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. Where do you see the power of visual storytelling? Because a lot of people here are giving thumbs up. You know, I see a lot of smiles. I see the comments, really cool, very impressive, different views and angles, a super photo. I just read a few out now, guys. That's going out to you, Aisha and Mahmoud. Wonderful empowerment project. And
yeah, sorry for interrupting you, maybe, but you are opening your YouTube with a voice. We can hear in the background the YouTube voice, I think, or not you.
That's not me. I think I have it on silent. But the question goes out, maybe, Sarah, you know, when we talk about empowerment, of course, the power of visual storytelling, where do you see the potential that is still untouched in such projects, on a nutshell?
Potential storytelling. I think what you are doing, and our work based on telling story from different backgrounds and from different camps in Lebanon. So our students now are from camp in Beirut, Shatila Camp, but we also went to Akkar Camp in north of Lebanon. So for me, storytelling is everywhere. Everyone has a story, and the best thing that we can have now, or maybe we can give, is to let them share their story in a way or another, in one photo, in different type of photo, in multiple photos. And yes, I think like storytelling is something we can have a very emotional attachment with others. We can have links, and we can have same dreams and same potential in the future. So that's why our project is based on stories, because all of us have stories, and maybe if we can share stories from this camp, another one from other camp will hear or see the story about this woman or kids or whatever, and they will get empowered, and they want to achieve their own dream, even in these bad circumstances.
Thank you, Sarah. Looking a little bit to the time, we are running out of time again. That's why I'd like to focus now again to Aisha and Mahmoud with my last question, guys. When you look back, you know, talking to strangers in the end, and maybe these strangers becoming your protagonists, and maybe your friends in the end, or maybe somebody that you greet here and there in the camp, creating a bigger community. What do you take out of this work, you know, being, first of all, a stranger to each other, finding protagonists, and now having a connection through your photo with these persons? I know it's a difficult question, but Michael, you can translate it. Thank you so much, Michael.
تفتكر اني مثلا انتم ما كنتوا تعرفوا الناس اللي انتم سويتوا قبلها، بس انت مثلا عرفت اماني من قبلها، ما بعرف انت عرفتي على هذا ولد اول مره. اوكي، الفكره هون شو انت خدتي منه بعد ما انت سويتيه، يعني شو انت خدتي من هذا الخبره، يعني انت بتحسي عرف منه، يعني في شيء انت خدتي من هذا الخبره؟ خبره او عبره؟ خبره. اوكي. So I just want to quickly add, so of course, Mahmoud, of course, knows Amani because both of them are students here in Alsama. And so that, of course, is not necessarily exactly the same question. But Aisha didn't know the little boy. She found him.
How difficult was it for you to approach him and, of course, to build up a connection? Or did you learn something from that experience that you're now using as well?
Okay.
Okay. First one, I can't take any photo for the children because I don't know. I don't know what means the children, and the children very scared for me. And the second, I will try. I speak with the children. I said okay, equality for the children because I learn the social worker because okay. Do you want to stay with the children? Should sit beside no equal the children because the children are very scared in stand. Okay, and I learn. Okay. Okay. Yes. I learn for the children. Okay. What?
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you so much for sharing these bits and pieces. I know it's a long journey and it's so much to process, and we have such a big digital audience. It's like a big stage, so I completely understand. I'm also out of words because, you know, I see all these big comments here. I'm seeing, guys, thank you so much. This is such a special event. Aisha and Mahmoud, this goes out to you. You and your colleagues' pictures are amazing. Thank you so much for capturing those scenes and sharing them with us. Keep on taking pictures and telling stories. That's coming straight out from the chat to you, to Beirut. And yes, with these words, I'd like to finish a little bit our hour here. Of course, the exhibition will remain open. It's been a lot to discover, and it will stay open for a couple of more moments. So please use the time. Thank you guys so much. I'd like to thank Maike Zielvogel. Thank you so much for translating and, of course, for being here with us today. To Aisha and Omi and Mahmoud Sleiman, to your work. Thank you so much. A big digital applause. To Christoph Klemann and Sarah, of course, Sarah Haitait. Thank you so much for joining. And to Erol Gurian, thank you so much for giving us a little bit more insights. And I think you are also available on all the media platforms in case somebody has more questions or wants to send, you know, a package of smartphones or whatever is needed. Thank you so much. Of course, all the projects are found online at alsamaproject.com, ourvoice.media, also what Erol mentioned on Instagram. So please follow them along, that their profile will explode with all the followers watching us today in a second. Yes, and thank you so much for watching. This means a lot as we are all scheduled in these times from video call to video call. Time is a very precious gift. So thanks again for joining us wherever you are in the world. All the best to you coming from Berlin, where I am, but of course into the world, to Beirut, to London. We had visitors from New York. Thank you so much for watching, and all the best for you. Stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye.